Alrighty, this is a how-to video. So, this new DuBois spinner, just as you get it out of the box. This is the one and only prototype, so of course it's not a production wheel, and I'll show you some things that will be different in the production wheel. Start right there. These controls are designed to investigate the different spin ratios between the spindle, which is the drive spindle for the bobbin, and the flyer, and they turn at different speeds depending on what you're doing. This one is no longer operative and will in fact be removed now that we've captured the different speed ratios. They're embedded in software in the microprocessor. So that will go away, and now you have on and off, can't be simpler than that, and faster and slower, can't be simpler than that. And that's all you ever have to do. You can spin literally like this, or you can spin full speed, and the take-up automatically adjusts to fit, such that you can go from the core of the bobbin all the way to the outside of the bobbin and virtually never change tension. It's that adaptable. The patent pending features are really fun and exciting. I'll show you those just in context with operating the wheel. So this is my son's bobbin. He's set it aside, and to change spinners from one person to another, I'm simply going to slide my bobbin in place, and it has some O-rings to hold it in place. It slides over those a little viscously, and it does not slip on the shaft then. It's nice and cushy. That softens the tension between the yarn and the flyer arm. I would thread it by doing this, and I pass it under here and give it 2 turns, take it out of there at a 45-degree angle, swing the tool post back over, and quick thread it like that, and I'm done. Now, same thing, if I lose the yarn in spinning, it is a matter of literally about 3 seconds to do this over again, bring it back out. Just undo it from the orifice, take it off the tensioning arm. Okay, so now I'm grab the end, put it in, bring it around, take it down, and I'm done, ready to go. There's no fumbling. I can do this literally with my eyes shut just by feel. So if you've got dim light and vision problems, you can use it. So now I'm set to spin, and a little word about this, since it's going to catch people's eyes right away. This is a patented tensioning flyer arm, so I call it the tensioning arm. This is a counterbalance arm, and they give exceptionally smooth, sleeky, silky performance. This, you simply slide back and forth. It has a nice greasy feel to it, but it's completely dry. It has a Rulon core, so it slides very, very nice and easily on the rod. This turn about this shaft, like a fireman's pole, when I tension that, it has a lot of resistance. You can see I'm trying to pull it back and forth. It's not really going very easily. If I release tension on it, then it slides easily around the tensioning arm. That was fun to do and fun to write up, and I actually think it'll fly for a patent. And as of now, it's patent pending, and we'll see what happens. So that, in combination with the types of tension that are on here, make it unique to spin on. You never need 2 flyers to spin different gauges of yarn. The tension is so sensitive that I could put a massive flyer on here for somebody that wants a production wheel, like a 2-pound flyer and bobbin combo, and it will tension just as nicely for silky thin fingerlings, or literally silk or cotton spinning, with a big bobbin as it will with a small bobbin. There's absolutely no difference. Big flyer, small flyer, big bobbin, small flyer. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. The tensioning is adaptable because of the unique way that the motor is driven against the tension, the main tension, and the self-tensioning apparatus here. We'll see how that works in a second. The main tension is a Scotch tension back here. It's attached to a lever, and I set it once and forget it. Most of the time I don't have to ever touch that to go from the core of the bobbin all the way to the outside of the bobbin. Very little change in tension is needed because of this natural braking effect. And when I pull on this, I'll flip it into action here. Oops, I always unplug it because I don't want to kick the wheel onto the floor by catching my toe in the plug. So I'll unplug it without snarling the yarn, plug it in, and there it is. And I usually use this as a little post to hold my tail end with. So I undo that, make sure that's centered, flip it on. You see it's a nice slow motion right now. Now if I want to straighten the snarls out, if I want to spin at a very relaxed pace, I can draw as thin or as thick as I want. But if I hold the tension, it stops and allows it more and more twist. When I release it, then it takes up very quickly, and you can see that as an amateur spinner, I'm able to get a nice fine soft draw on that. Now the interesting thing is I'm not putting any pinch on this at all. It's simply allowed to slide through my fingers because the tension, as long as I'm keeping up with the take-up, it doesn't give me excess take-up. It's metered. On the other hand, if I want to quickly take up, I can do that. So it's a really, really adaptable to the spinning style of whoever's using it. And the unique idiosyncrasies of iPhone microphones are such that the sound waves from this machine are triply amplified by the mic on the iPhone. I found that to be true the other day. I was filming a turtle outside, and the sound of my diesel in the background, which I couldn't even hear, was tripled by the sound of the microphone. So it is whisper quiet. It makes a nice singing sound like a seashell when you hold it to your ear. And as you draw and spin and draw and spin, you'll find this seesawing motion of sound coming out of the machine as it adapts to you. As you tighten up the tension in order to, say, proof the yarn, you can pull as hard as you want on this to really make a nice, heavy, dense fiber for a weaver, for instance. And what will happen is it will stop the take-up by clenching on this like a Chinese handcuff. It'll stop it from taking up, provide you with plenty of tension, but no pull away from you, so that you can manipulate your draw as much and as carefully as you want without fighting the take-up, which is really luxurious. It also allows you to spin virtually a thread on a big flyer. No multiple flyers. You never have to change the flyer on this wheel, although it comes off and comes back on very easily. You want to change to a different flyer. This is the one we started with. It's just a matter of slipping the flyer onto the shaft, and it's just about as easy as changing the bobbin. So, from there on out, you see me spin a little bit. There's other videos with plenty of spinning on them, so we won't spend too much time on that. It has a ability to start and stop. It stops instantly, but it starts fairly slowly. See, it has a little speed up session there, and that, and combined with this, prevent it from jerking the yarn when you start up. So that's especially helpful with me, because I haven't spun a great deal, and it's really nice when you're spinning fine not to have that jerk, a little fiber like this. But in essence, you can work on this draw as much as you want, because the take-up will stop when you put tension on it. Work your draw out just exactly the way you want it, and then let the twist flow up into it, and then let it flow into the wheel, and it will take up faster at that point. When you release tension here, you'll see the yarn immediately flows around the tensioning arm and flows onto the bobbin. But this space here always retains quite a high amount of tension, so the yarn on the bobbin is very dense. It's hard. You can feel my fingers drumming on that. That's a hard-packed bobbin. And the benefit of that, of course, when you unwind it, it doesn't tangle. And when you're winding on, you don't have soft spots in between the hills and valleys where your yarn end gets buried. But honestly, I spun from one end to the other of this bobbin, and I think I might have lost the end, not lost the end, but had it break and take up into the wheel half a dozen times at most. And so it really cuts down on that whole action. It's almost underwhelming because it's so easy to thread and unthread that it really doesn't matter, but at the same time, you don't really have to do it. So I always forget to go under with that, over the top, under with that, and there I am back in action. So, start, stop, start, speed up, slow down, much or as little as you want. Tension is automatically adjusting itself. Tension adjusts itself automatically as you pull, draw, spin, draw, all of the operations that you do with your fingers when you're spinning, the wheel is sensitive to those, picks up on what you're doing because of this tensioning arm and the tension of the yarn around it. I pull, and as I said before, it stops taking up. Try pulling a little. I need to center this a little because it's going bobbly a little bit. And allow more spin to build up if I want to spin very slowly and get a lot of tension on there, a lot of twist. And then you can see it's taking up as fast as I want it to at the same time. And just tie a little merino into that. It's one of the things I used to be really bad at, and this wheel makes it so easy, is just to join in. And you can see how easily it's going. My fingers are not even tensioned together, they're simply lying on top of the wool. Before I used to have to pinch the wool to stop the spin from running into the fiber. Very much not so with this. You'll see a lot of very good spinners who use a grip kind of like this, where they grab the yarn here and they're bending it like this. That's to emulate the action that's being done here. And you don't need to do that anymore. You can, nice soft start, unwind, I can draw, and I don't have to worry about metering the yarn into the bump of wool. I'm spinning very slowly. It self-meters, and when I stop and draw my fingers on there to smooth that yarn, it's not pulling on me. Just enough to tension the yarn, and then I'm free to go forward, spin some more, or let in quickly. And while I'm holding it like this with little or no tension between my fingers, it's not pulling the yarn in, not to speak of. And it's giving me a break so that I can manipulate the draw. So I've got a ton of room to do as long of a draw as I want and not have it yanked out of my fingers. The fact that my fingers aren't pinching means that I'm not going to squeeze the draw and potentially break it, over thin it, etc. It's very easy to make a long spinning session and never vary from the diameter of the yarn that you're spinning. There I've got a little bit of thin, but no risk of breaking. Let it fly up, see? Let it get really thin. And I'm going to take that back out because I don't want to mess up my yarn. But see how I allowed it to get super thin there? Did not break on me. Take up as normal. I'll take that out in a minute because I don't want to have a thin spot in the yarn. This is almost a ½ pound. It should be very nearly 8 ounces when it's done. And it's a nice fine sort of a sock type thing. The bobbins, it'll come with 2 bobbins, and they're elegant little things. They're meant to go on a vertical lazy Kate, and they have a very small nub there to offset them. But they're made to be elegant and pretty, but inexpensive, because you shouldn't pay a lot for bobbins. They're very simple. And you saw me take the bobbin off. It's just a matter of sliding it off the machine. So I'm going to be a nice guy and leave this set up for my son. Let's just open the barn door here. Take this off. I'm going to break some of this yarn off anyway to get rid of that thin spot. And all I do is put my fingers on here, squeeze that out, and unbobbined. I put my son's bobbin back on. He spins ultra fine stuff at the same exact settings that I just was using. And close the door. And another person is ready to spin. We haven't unfastened any tensioning devices. We haven't had to mess with anything. It's literally that simple. Open the door, slip the bobbin off, and I'm ready to put my bobbin back on. Okay, so to change my mind, I decided to do this. Takes the stress out of changing from one to the other, and facilitates 2 people without a lot of messing about. And again, I can do this in the blind like that, and I'm ready to spin. Now I just changed the bobbin twice in a couple of seconds. There's nothing to work around. It really works out of the box. Now since I'm not going to spin at the moment, I'm going to pull that thin spot back out of the yarn because I don't want that in there. I won't forget it. And because the open-ended design here, I can quickly and easily just take yarn off the end of the bobbin. I pull as much as I want. In fact, I can thread it through here and pull a ton off of there if I want to investigate what I've been doing. It comes off very quickly. You could even unwind the bobbin that way. But ultimately you wouldn't be able to because it'll start snarling. So you want to use a traditional, take it off and unwind it traditionally. Put that on there. Now to leave the wheel, I don't know why more wheels don't have this, but I use this control knob, break the yarn, because I take that thin spot out. I don't want the thin stuff on there. And I retain my yarn on that, and I pull the power, always pull the power. I've hooked my foot in the power line and pitched this on the floor, which brings me to durability. No wheel is going to survive a hard fall on the floor if it hits the end of the flyer arm. It's not going to happen. This one I have kicked off onto the floor. Nothing happened. It hits fairly solid parts of it. Didn't scar the floor, didn't scar the wheel, and happily on ever after. But you don't drop spinning wheels basically. That's pretty common sense. So really hope you enjoy it. I'd love to have any feedback you have to offer. And it's an extraordinary wheel. It really is. The microprocessor and software which are buried inside here are very easily accessible. It has a hollow bottom. It'll of course have a cover on the bottom when it goes to production. And this is just a detachable USB cable. The reason I have it in there right now is because I uploaded software to replace the third knob. We don't want a third control on there, and that goes away tomorrow. So you'll get the software, and you can, for those of you who are technophiles, you can have the software. It's open source. You can change it as much as you like. You can alter the program that controls the differential ratios, upload it easily. But for everyday users like myself, you don't need this cable, and you don't need to ever mess with the software, and you don't really need to do anything except turn it on. And if I accidentally turn it on and I have this unplugged, it's nice because it doesn't cause a problem here. So I always unplug that. All right, hope you enjoy.